Hello everyone. Many of you are doing remarkable work in enhancing rainwater management in your various field of expertise as well as implementing areas. But how can we then create a business case out of all these initiatives that you're doing? So this presentation dives deep into understanding or looking into concepts or approaches that can be used to enhance these mechanisms of creating a business case out of your initiatives, and most of which I'm going to talk about the role of triple bottom line approach. As a premise, we know that rain-fed agriculture contributes more than 60% of global food basket, and on top of that, in Africa, more than 96% of cultivated land is rain-fed, and with climate change, there's evidence that there will be a decrease in the yield, and on top of that, we also know that the contribution of funding to rain-fed agriculture is very low compared to irrigation farming. So, how can now we present a case so that this can be a switch or a shift? So, why is there lack of investment? First is the physical risks. This can be in terms of the climate change, floods, dry spells that farmers are most prone to. Beyond that, it's also lack of evidence to support the rain-fed agriculture by even assessing like volumetric return of water, like the way irrigation does. Like you can know how much volume of irrigation contributes to a certain amount of food produced. And on top of that is also the lack of developments in technologically in rain-fed systems that investors are lacking. These are just some of the reasons why. So to attract investment, we need better mechanisms and framework. So triple bottom line sort of like tries to answer this question: how can we attract finance? By first looking at the investment strategy. What are the investors looking for? Like this mostly is like knowledge generation, the capacity development, advocacy, as well as like strong business cases around it. And to do this, we can use the three components, which are the planet benefits that it gets, the society benefits, as well as the economic benefits that come from this. So smallholder farmers are the frontline managers of water, and they're key to all the management systems. And we know also that there are multiple benefits that can come out of the enhanced rain-fed agriculture systems, and these can support both the planet, the people, as well as the profit. And together we sort of like try to combine these. When we talk about the planet, there are a lot of elements that we look into place, like how can we maintain water cycle, the carbon cycle, and reduce erosion or improve the quality of water and enhance sustainability, as well as encourage soil nutrients. And in our case, countries, the three countries, we also know and understand the structure in terms of the land use, where the cropland exists. So we can utilize these mechanisms to support in building a more better understanding, and bringing in a concept of soil and water management benefits to the planet can be one of these key elements. And through it, we've developed what is called soil water metrics. So why the soil metrics? So the soil metrics, I'm looking at it from surface water, agriculture in the tropical regions, as well as upstream and downstream impact. And first, I look at it from the benefit part, and the benefit part is that the management system in the soil as well as in water component can support food production as well as other social cultural benefits. And on top of that, they can also offer regulatory systems in terms of maintaining the water cycle, like the rainfall, evaporation, and other things. But it can also assist in maintaining land systems to be more resilient and not have degradation, and also improve the carbon cycle by reducing even the amount of carbon emissions that goes into the atmosphere. As you know, soil is one of the key carbon storage banks. And the impact part is that we can look at the impact from perspective that in the absence of this management, how can that affect people? It can be in terms of hunger, in terms if there are dry spells and there's not been good proper soil management. and loss of asset in terms of floods, or it can be economic in terms of resources that depend on water, like hydroelectric power as well as water dams. And it can also be in general, or the society, what are the freedoms that people get, and this can lead into crises as well as floods and other things. On the nature is more the pollution, the land use change, and the degradation that can impact the availability of different diversity in the landscape. And all these things are sort of like intertwined and connected. So by looking at soil metric for business case, it sort of like helps to sort of bring in the support in terms of understanding the water vulnerability, the land degradation, the roots and soil moisture component, the carbon cycle in regulating the climate change, as well as looking at this water cycle. So one of the first example is looking at land degradation status. Let's say, for instance, from 2002 to 2001, comparing to the current land use, what you'd see is that there's been areas which have degraded, but overall we see like there's a stable, it looks stable, but you'd find like some parts of the region have degraded, and most of these are like vital agroecological zones, but there are also other parts that are still doing good. The second example is more looking at it from the climate component, where we see that improvement of soil water management based on our modeling assessment is that they increase the soil organic carbon in the agriculture soil layer. Going further, looking at water footprint, which is a yardstick that measures the amount of water required to produce a crop yield in a season. Future projection indicating that the climate change will increase the crop water footprint across the continent to as high as 6%. Even you look at it in irrigation, you'd see also that the increase of water footprint is also high. So this is where the soil water metrics comes in play, because they record all these soil water managements in sustainable use of water. So continuing with implementing management system in a modeling approach, what we found is that when we have enhanced rain-fed agriculture, we can shift evaporation to transpiration. This is what we call increasing productive water use efficiency, in the sense that you reduce the amount of evaporation, and you're shifting, instead of just losing water from evaporation, you're transferring that water to the plant for plant production, so that the plant can transpire it. In that way, you increase productivity of crops. And beyond that, also what we've noticed is that when you look at historically, is that in all these regions, there's been there's been a shortening of the length of growing period. The rains either are coming late and they're finishing fast as well, or sometimes they start fast and they finish late. So there's a need to sort of like compensate during these periods of rain management, when rain shortages or dry spells. And with that, with this management, it helps sort of like help conserve the soil moisture, and beyond that also to encourage this production. And also the other element that can come into this business case is to be able to show that there are like current gaps. Like historically, we have had these gaps in maize production, and of course they are more clustered in different agro regions. But if you look at our focus region, there's evidence that evidence from our modeling system that with enhanced rainwater management, you can even reduce this yield gap by even increasing as high as about 50% in most of these regions. And so just to summarize on these benefits of the planet, what I've sort of like tried to derive here is that combining water and land management measures can help both to prevent climate change, bring like this mitigation as well as a rehabilitation system of the landscape, and encourage also like other activities. And beyond that, of course, there are different structures that are in place, like agronomic, vegetative structure, and also management measures that can sort of like enhance this growth. So going further to look into the people component, for the people component, the most the social capital can definitely influence the investment in rainwater management, and these include like human rights and other rights that are compounded together to enhance either ownership of property or creating like freedoms for people to sort of like be able to govern and manage their systems, even their management system. But the question that also still remains is like how can value chains impact even the investment toward rainfed agriculture? And this is the key part. So how can the value chains be stimulated to enhance this interest from different systems? And thanks for, I've just used some of the pictures from some of the partners who are also present here. So to make it contextually, what I just presented earlier, so we adopted a theoretical framework for evaluating land management project, but here with the goal of how can the people achieve what they value. So we look at it from the primary assets, which is more looking at human assets that includes like healthy education and other things. And also we look or even the natural assets, including land access as well as water access. And there's also the instrumental freedoms that look more into the political freedoms, human rights and other things. And it also incorporates like economic freedom, protection, and the transparency as well. So individuals like agents combine and transform these assets into functioning well-being given the structure opportunities. So there are functionings, functionings that come out of the combination of these two. This can be the nourishment, healthy, and other shelter that in the end help in enhancing their well-being and capabilities. So if their well-being and capabilities are enhanced, you can sort of like support this in a cyclic approach. So all those frameworks that I've presented can be summarized in this scorecard, which sort of like has a structure of a list of questions that can be answered for each section and provide like enough information, of which some have already been incorporated in the survey that I sent earlier. And beyond that, I think we've talked about the planet, we've talked about the people, but now let's talk about the profit. So when you're talking about the profit component, it's so you remember this impact cyclic approach, and this sort of like tries to emphasize that there are direct and indirect benefits that people can get and also that we can show in a business case. But the question is like, how then can we create a more structured one? So profit comes in as important. So we have started already with this return on investment component, which is sort of like compounds the cost as well as the benefit, and the benefit from both the nature part as well as from the economic part. So beyond the return on investment, we can also project the net value of production in dollar per hectare in the region. And even this includes this region where the TIARA is. If we even include the transportation cost, it also shows that our region has a high potential. So in conclusion, what I want to bring to attention is that there is a lot of untapped potential in and investment strategy in enhanced rainfed agriculture, but the problem is this immaturity of the solutions, and there's also a problem of knowledge and acceptance, and also there's limited leadership in the initiatives, and also there's lack of availability of capital. And all these things can be countermeasured by creating more knowledge generation and having like more capacity systems within it, and also trying to present verifiable information that can support it. And so the key takeaway home message is that rainwater has potential, and it can be effective. And beyond that, there's a need for more evidence that can help the business case and sort of like attract investments. And beyond that, using the TIARA cases can sort of like be the key stepping stone to achieving this. So thank you very much, and please reach out.